Hello and welcome to Honest Thoughts and Coffee. I am your host, Dana Horton, and this is episode 4. I will be honest, this is the 4th or 5th time I have tried recording this podcast. I am having all kinds of technical difficulties today. My microphone's not working, my camera keeps falling, but we're going for it anyway because I am really excited about this episode. It has been very special in planning and preparing it for you, and I just truly hope that it serves you in some way and helps you. This podcast is really just a space where I sit down with a cup of coffee and share some of my thoughts about the season of life that I'm in, which is I'm 46, I'm raising 2 teenage daughters, I am married to the love of my life, I am working hard, and all the things that come along with living in 2026. And this episode is called What My Daughters Have Taught Me About Parenting, and it has really been special preparing these notes and just has given me some great perspective and truly things to be grateful. My daughters have really been some of my greatest teachers, and just in wanting to help learn and grow and heal so that I can be the best mom for them and to show up well in my life for the people around me. So let's go ahead and get into it. I have 5 points I'm hoping to get to today, and point number 1 is just keep the main things. At the end of the day, in the grand scheme of things, there are so many things that won't matter. And when I think about what are those main things, it is the basic needs: food, shelter, water, clothing. I'm blessed enough to have those. Not everybody does. Do my kids know that I love them unconditionally? They need that. And so when the world gets noisy, when things get stressful and overwhelming, and it seems like there's a million things that we have to do and the day is busy, sometimes I just have to step back and look at what's going on around me and ask myself, okay, did we at least get there today? And again, not everybody is blessed to have that. And so I keep that in perspective often, that we're very fortunate in that way. But it is also helpful, again, when the world is noisy and loud and there's so much going on around us, just to take a step back. You know, when my kids were younger, life was very busy then also. We were working a lot. I worked at the daycare then also, and my kids came to work with me, but I wasn't always with them. I was blessed that I had an amazing tribe of teachers helping me to raise my children, because they came to work. They came to my work with me, my children. And I was blessed to have a fantastic team of teachers taking care of my children while I was working. And I will forever be grateful for those positive influences in my kids' life, because they truly did impact them. And, you know, the power of community is a real thing. But I was working full time, and especially when they were little, there were days where we would get home from a long day of work and we still had dinner and bath time and PJs and all the things. And I remember at times feeling guilty, feeling overwhelmed, feeling like, you know, I was failing as a mom in a lot of places. But I had to step back and ask myself, you know, we were fortunate enough, we got to sit down at the table together after we got home from work and have a meal together. I got to give them their bath and put them to bed at night and snuggle with them then. And so those moments, you know, keeping that perspective, were just as special. And so I really had to learn how to keep myself in check so that I could enjoy those special moments. And I think that's where the perspective of keeping the main things can really help you, because again, we can get very caught up in what is going on around us in the world. What are the messages that we're hearing from social media or TV, or even people in our circle, of what we should be doing, what our kids need to be doing, you know. And I think, again, take that step back and just ask yourself, what are the main things here? What are the main things in this moment that are important? And try to just focus on that. And plenty of times over the years, raising our girls, especially now that they're older, it's still not letting all of the noise interfere with what are the main things. So we're very intentional about still trying to keep that focus. And I just have to recognize that now that they're older, some of those things have shifted and some of those moments have shifted. And so, you know, they're older, so sometimes there's less teaching moments in things like I'm not potty training anymore. I'm not, teaching them their letters and numbers and all of those kinds of things, or how to tie their shoes. It's things like driving and, how to fill out applications and how to manage their own calendar and those types of responsibilities. And again, all of that can get stressful and overwhelming and loud at times. And so just stepping back and throughout that process, remembering what is the main thing here. The main thing in those moments is that as a mom, I'm trying to teach and guide them, but I also want them to see me as a lighthouse, as a safe place that they can always come back to for guidance and help, but that they can do it themselves. So, things shift as they get older, but keeping the main things. There are lots of times, even now, still at the end of the day, at the end of the night, when people are doing their own things within the house or getting ready for bed, that I have to step back and give myself perspective that even though it was a busy day, were their basic needs met? Yes, I was blessed that happened. Do I feel like I was able to express to my kids that they have my unconditional love today? Yes, that happened. Okay, let's just let it be that and go ahead and go to bed and put the rest to bed until tomorrow. So keeping the main things, I think that is very important to start with. Point number 2, this one's tough and has been tough for me, especially as they're getting older. You won't, and you probably shouldn't even know everything about your kids. Everything. You're not going to know every single experience that they're having. You're not going to know every single thought that they're having. You're not going to know every single thing that they're doing. And as a recovering helicopter mom, I can be the first to say that I am learning this the hard way, and it is very challenging to be able to take that step back and just recognize that there's a lot you can't control. There's a lot you want to know. There's a lot that you wish they would tell you sometimes. And even when they were little, you don't always know every single thing that they're thinking or how they're processing something. And so we've had to learn how to be very intentional about the connection that we do have with our girls. I have learned that when you force or when you demand information or when you keep pushing and pushing, that oftentimes, it just does more damage than good and breaks trust and makes it, at least there have been times where it makes it even harder then to communicate because the walls sometimes can go up higher. And so I was really thinking about this and about the moments that I feel like my girls have been the most open with me or the most spontaneous in sharing conversations or things that were on their heart or things that they were experiencing in their lives, when those times happened. And it has almost never been when I have asked or pushed for information. It has most definitely almost always been the random moments in the kitchen when we're getting a snack, or those times when we're in the car listening to music together and I'm really not saying anything, I'm just available, that they have opened up about different things that have been going on in their lives. And so we've worked really hard in our house to just be intentional, I can't say that word today, intentional about creating an environment and time opportunities to connect with our girls. And so prioritizing family dinner. It does not always have to be dinner. It could be breakfast, it could be lunch, it could be snack, it could be ice cream, it could be whatever, but it is time around the table or in the living room around the coffee table where there are no phones, the TV's not on, and it's just the 4 of us eating our food, enjoying each other's company, talking about our days. That is truly the most joyous time for me. I love it. I suck it up. And it's one of my favorite moments in the world when all 4 of my people are sitting around the table. We're there together with no distractions, just enjoying a meal and talking about our lives. And so we've been really intentional, I said it, about keeping that time purposeful and making sure that it might not get to happen every single day. It might not be the same meal every day, but we make sure that it happens. Or even now, there have been a few times where we have said, like, Wednesday night is family night. Don't make plans with your friends. I won't make plans after work. We're going to order a pizza and we're going to have family night. So again, no distractions. The phones get turned off or put away. The TV is turned off, or we're watching a movie together while we're having our pizza, but it is intentional, specific family time. Are there moments where I get frustrated? Yes. Are there moments where I feel like I am failing as a mom? 100%. Are there times where things can go south very quickly? You betcha. But I say that to say I am not sharing with you from a place of being a perfect mom. I sure as heck am not. But I do think that when we keep the main thing, and when we make peace with the fact that we're not going to know everything all the time about our kids, but rather than focusing on that and stressing about that and pushing harder and prying and forcing information, we focus more on building that connection and providing opportunities for us to be together where we can just listen to what's going on in their lives. I think that is really where we've seen the most fruit in being able to just be a part of their world, especially as they've gotten older. So, point number 1, keep the main thing, stick to the basics, try not to get distracted in everything else. Decide what is really important in this moment between me and my child, or what's going on in my home. And then number 2, you're not going to know everything. It's impossible to know every single thing that is going on in their world and in their mind and on their heart. But when you're intentional about making time for you and your child to be together, or your family to be together without distractions, that you prioritize that, when you make time to just sit and listen and build that connection, those are the times that I think you will probably see the most fruit in them opening up and sharing with you what is on their heart. And I think without that connection, it's very difficult to have that opportunity with them. So if I could encourage you with that, stick to focusing on the connection piece more than anything else. Point number 3. This is a big one too. I think you are parenting your individual child. You are not parenting yourself, and you are not your parents. And this is not a slight or a knock to my parents or my husband's parents at all. I'm very blessed, but my husband and I have talked several times in our parenting journey just about moments where we can get caught up in what's happening, and we've had to stop and say, okay, wait a second. Like, hold up. I'm not parenting me, thank God. We are not parenting my husband. We are parenting our children, and we are not our parents. So I think there's always that conversation, like, I would never do it like my dad did, or I would never do that the way my mom did it, or, and some of that can be very valid. So I'm not discounting that. But we have said, but we are us, and we are raising them. And so remembering, I am not raising me in 1998. I am raising them in 2026, and I am not my mom and dad. I am me and my husband, and how do we want to do things, and what are our values, and what's important to us as a family, and on that note, my daughters are very different. They have unique personalities. They were created uniquely, on purpose, for a purpose, and they're just very different. And so we have our house rules. We have some general, this is something that's important to our family. These are the values we have in our home. But beyond that, recognizing they're different. They respond differently to different types of conversations. They respond differently and communicate very differently with us, and even in how they communicate between us sometimes. My girls, I love the fact that my girls are daddy's girls. I wouldn't have it any other way. The power of a strong father in a daughter's life is, I will never not back that up. And it's so interesting in things that they will communicate or share with their dad versus things they'll communicate and share with me, and how we do it and how they do it. So if I could just encourage you, take note of the things the individual and unique things you notice about your child or children, or maybe you're a grandparent about your grandchildren, or maybe you're an aunt or an uncle. If you have any influence in a child's life, take note. What are the things that light them up? What are the things that you see coming naturally to them? What are the things that you see, bring them joy or help them to release some of the stress or the burden that they might be carrying in your life? And is there anything that you can do to foster that? And it doesn't always have to be expensive. I'm not talking about necessarily enrolling them in some sort of program. If they have that passion and you have the means to do it and they want to do it, great. But I'm just talking about noticing, the different things that they enjoy doing, the things that light them up, the uniqueness in their personality that you might observe in them, and how can you foster that in their life? How can you talk to them about it? Again, my kids are so different. They respond differently to different things, and especially now that they're 14 and 18, they're, I call them junior adults, and that's what we're doing. We're preparing them to be adults, to go off and live their own lives. And it's been a fun journey to see, and lastly, when we talk about this point of we're not raising ourselves and we're not our parents raising ourselves, it really drove home for me how important it is to be brave enough to heal the parts of you that need to be healed. I know that it can be scary. I know that it can be vulnerable, and it's not always easy to go there or to address those things. And so I always will emphasize the point of having support and proper help when it comes to those places of your life where you need healing. So whether that's talking to a pastor, whether that's getting in a small group, whether that is seeking out a counselor, a trusted friend, a parent, a spouse, a trusted circle of people that you can talk to and start some of that healing. As a parent, I cannot encourage you more to do the hard work of healing the broken places that might need healing, so that you can show up even more helpful and more whole for your children and for the people around you. It is not a last need on your list. It needs to be at the top of your list to work on that personal healing of yourself and those broken places. And I know that it takes courage. So I want to encourage you to be brave and seek out the right support to be able to heal those places, so that you can show up well in your parenting journey and in your life. And I think, even with that, it gave me perspective just in recognizing, and I hope in helping me to show up even better for my parents. So again, things that my daughters are showing me that I'm learning about parenting is also having that ripple effect towards the way I feel towards my parents. There have been moments throughout Zach and I, through our parenting journey, where I have actually stopped and been like, wow, thinking about how old my parents were when certain things that they've dealt with throughout their life were happening, and how old my sister and I were at the time, and really kind of being like, wow, so when I was this old as a child and my parents were this old and this is something that they were experiencing or going through, it just gave me a lot of perspective. Wow, so when my mom was 46 and raising me as a teenager, this is something that she had to deal with. And I have apologized to my mom several times for things that I have put her through when I was a young teenager. But just being able to stop and kind of recognize that, it really gave me some humility, a lot of forgiveness, and just that perspective on, I guess I just believe that the majority of the time, not everybody, not everyone, and I know that, the majority of the time, I think people are doing the best they can with what they have. And I know for me and Zach that we can say that as parents, that we're doing the best we can with what we have, with what we know, but we are also learning. I've never raised an 18-year-old before. This is my first go around. So, my oldest daughter, there are some things that I'm deciding in the moment. How do I feel about that? How do I want to parent that particular situation? In times that I've had to say, you know what, let me think about that. I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about it. And it's okay to give that space, but yeah, so it really has been interesting things that my daughters are teaching me about parenting has also in turn affected how I feel about my own parents, and just giving me that perspective of like, wow, different things that my mom and dad went through when I was my kids' age now, or when they were little, or vice versa. It's just an interesting way to think about it. And I know you can hear my cat Jack in the background. He's saying hello. Okay, so point number 4 is, throughout my parenting journey, faith and prayer have become number 1. And it really has caused me to lean so heavily on my faith and my relationship with God. And truly, there are going to be moments, and there have been moments, where your kids are going to come up against things, or you might come up against something as a parent, and you're like, I don't know. I don't even know. Like, where do I start with this? Or what do I do about this? Or how do I feel? And you need guidance. And yes, you can Google everything. You can Google it, you can chat GPT it, and you're going to get opinions, and you're going to get advice, and and I am all for seeking wisdom. I am all for speaking with, the proper channels that you might need to speak with, depending on what the situation is. But again, at the end of the day, in the grand scheme of things, I can truly say that after 18 years of parenting, there have been moments where literally the only thing that I know to do is to talk to God about it, or to pray about it, and to say to Him, Lord, you know every single detail about this situation. You know everything that is going on with my child. You created them. They are your child before they are mine. You love them more than I do, which is hard to even fathom. And He has a plan and a purpose for them that He will see come to pass. And going to the Lord in prayer and just lifting my child up, especially in times where maybe I'm not having any luck communicating with my kiddo about whatever that thing might be. And I didn't have a relationship with God until I was about 31. So it's not that I didn't know about faith. It just wasn't like it is now. And so I've been learning alongside my kids about a lot of things when it comes to my faith. But that is one thing that I can stand here and say for sure, that faith and prayer have become the number 1 thing as a parent. If I could give you any tool, it would be that. Working on my prayer life, lifting my children up in prayer, speaking life over my kids and my family, going to God in prayer and asking Him what to do about different situations, reminding my children who they are, reminding them that they were created on purpose, reminding them that they have skills and talents and gifts to give to this world, and they're not there by accident. It truly has just become number 1. So that is one thing that my kids have taught me through parenting, is that faith and relying on my relationship with God and praying over them. And throughout my parenting journey it's absolutely vital. And I have seen it happen. Just different things that I have prayed about or prayed for, and different circumstances that my kids have come up against. And maybe if they'll let me, I can talk with them and see if there's any examples that I can share with you. But, having maybe a specific thing that I've been praying about for a month straight, and now when I look back in some of my journals, I can see, wow, like you can see the change or the transformation or whatever it is that I was praying about taking place. And that's not because of me. I said the prayers, but it's not because of me that those changes were happening. And lastly, I think I would also say something that my kids have taught me about parenting through parenting them is how important it is to have community around you, and how important it is to encourage other people. I really just think that in general, I don't think that the world is out there encouraging everybody. I think that there are a bajillion ways, if you look for it, that you could be told that you're doing it wrong, or that you're failing, or that you're messing up, or that there's something wrong. And I feel so strongly that it's important to surround yourself with people that are going to encourage you, people that are going to call out the positive things that they see in you, because a lot of times we can't do it for ourselves, or we're stressed out, or we're just so overwhelmed that we can't see clearly. And that's why it's just so vital to have that circle of encouragement around you. So whether that's at work, whether that's in your church community, whether that's in your school, in your family, whatever it is, just being really intentional about surrounding yourself with positive people, not necessarily people that are going to sugarcoat things and tell you everything's okay when it's not. Sometimes you need people that are going to say, I think maybe we need to course correct here a little bit, or people that are going to be brave enough to say to you, I love you, I've known you a long time, and here's what I'm seeing, and I love you too much not to say it to you. That's just as important as having people that are going to call out the positive things and speak life over your life, just as much as you want to speak life over your kids' lives. Especially if you are a parent who has dealt with mental health struggles yourself, or maybe you have a kid that's gone through something like that. I think right now, especially for teenagers, I think there is a mental health crisis. I think that so many people, not just children, not just teenagers, people, adults, are dealing with things like anxiety, depression, screen time addiction, in my opinion. I just think there's so much of that. We can sometimes feel very lonely. I think sometimes as a parent, if you have a child that's going through anything, it's very easy to tell yourself that you're the only one. It's very easy to tell yourself that nobody else is dealing with that, or nobody else understands. And it can be easy to isolate yourself and to draw away when you're dealing with something difficult with your child. And it's not like it's birthday party talk. If you have ever been through something like that, it's not something you're going to sit down at the family function and just come out and talk about. So I think it can be isolating or lonely if you are dealing with a struggle with yourself or with your child. And I think our society of being online all the time and connected 24/7 on our phones has taken away some of that personal connection, and it's almost isolating us even more. And so I think when you're parenting, that can also be lonely. I think I appreciate so much the extroverts and the people who are really good at things like small talk and making conversation, because I am not always good at that. I am not always great at small talk. I am not always super extroverted when we go to different places with our kids. I am very grateful for people who are willing to do things or take my kids to do things that are maybe outside of my comfort zone. If it's a person that I know well and I trust with my child, I appreciate that. So I think that's where it's good to find community and draw out each other's strengths and pull on that when you need help in your parenting journey, or if you found a person who's been through a similar situation with their child. Again, a trusted person, a confidant, someone who's not going to go blabbing your business everywhere, but to find those people that you can find a safe space to be like, hey, this is something I'm going through. Do you know anyone that I could talk to? Or have you ever experienced something like this? Or maybe they haven't, but they're a person that can pray with you, or they're a person that can check in with you, once in a while and ask you how things are going. So I just think, again, that could literally change. I get emotional because this is why this episode is so special and important, because I have been very blessed. We have been very blessed to have people in our lives just encouraging us, coming alongside us through different things that our family has been through. So again, I just think not even just with parenting, but truly with everything, you just really don't know how much you can impact somebody's life or encourage somebody or make a difference in their day just by encouraging them and reminding them, that they're doing a good job. I don't know a single mom that it would not fill their bucket a little bit for somebody to say to them, you're a great mom. I am sure without a doubt 100% that the men and the fathers, they need to hear it just as much. So if you see something good in somebody, call it out, say it to them, because I promise you, the world is not out there encouraging people.
If anything, it is trying to tear them down even further. And I get emotional about it because it's just that place where I feel like I will dig my heels in. I will dig my heels in, and I will stand firmly on that. People need to hear out loud encouragement. People need to be told they're doing a good job, not because everybody needs a trophy, but because it matters, because life is hard, because we're all trying to do the best we can possibly do, and it's hard sometimes. So we need other people to come alongside of us and point out the good things that we see in them and in what they're trying to do and in what they are doing. So thank you for putting up with my shaky voice. I actually feel like I pulled that together pretty well, and if you know me, you know I'm a sympathetic crier. I'm a crier, so it happens. But I told you this episode was special. And I really, just to recap, point number 1, things that my daughters have taught me about parenting. Number 1, keep the main things. Don't get distracted by the noise. Don't get distracted by comparing yourself to everybody else on the street. Don't get distracted by what people are telling you should be doing, or any of that. Keep the main things. Our kids need basic things from us. They need security and they need love. That's what they need. Point number 2, you don't and you won't and you probably shouldn't know every single thing about your child and what's going on in their mind and what they have going on as much as we want to, and forcing it doesn't help. Focus on building the connection. Focus on building opportunities of time where you can connect and listen with your child. Point number 3, you are parenting your individual child. You are not parenting. You are not your parents parenting. You are parenting them, and you are you as a parent. So do the hard work on yourself so that you can show up well. Point number 4, faith and prayer have been a number 1 strategy for me in my parenting journey. And that is a hill that I will die on. That's the phrase, I guess, these days. I will stand firmly on that, praying and speaking life over different situations that I have encountered as a parent and as a mom and personally. Number 1 defense. Point number 5, it is so important to have community and to encourage each other. So find a mom's group, find a small group, find a friend group that you can hang out with, a place where you can have a safe space to share things, to learn things from each other, to encourage each other. You don't have to share everything with everybody. Find those safe spaces, but have a community, because it is way too easy for us to isolate ourselves. It is way too easy for us to feel like we're the only one. It's not true. I promise you, there are other people out there that have probably experienced the thing you have, and there are places where you can find help and where you can find hope. So, yes, those are my 5 points, the 5 things that I truly feel like my kids have taught me about parenting. So, wherever you are at, whatever season that you are in, you are doing better than you think you are. Keep taking good care of yourself so that you can show up well for the people in your life and for your life. And thank you for spending your time with me. I appreciate it truly. I'm grateful for you. And I hope that this episode served you in some way. Please leave me a comment. Feel free to send me an email. I would love to hear from you. Or if you're interested, sign up for the Lighthouse Letters. It's a monthly newsletter that comes out every month. You can sign up at the link in my bio. I would love to see your name there, and we'll talk again next time. Thanks. Bye.